Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on CoreTV News at 7. I am Ebolomo Adekunle. The federal government has agreed to extend the lifespan of the National Conference by 4 weeks. The chairman of the conference, Idris Kutigi, a retired Chief Justice of the Federation, made this disclosure at the plenary while briefing delegates on the lifespan of the talk shop. Kutigi informed delegates that the leadership of the conference met with the Secretary to the federal government, Ayim Pius Ayim, who conveyed government's decision to approve 4 weeks extension for the conference instead of the 6 weeks requested by delegates. Under the new arrangement, the conference will now end on July 19 instead of the earlier date, June 19, when the discussion had been programmed to last. Before the extension, some delegates had advocated that the 3-month period allotted was not enough, but it is not clear whether additional budgetary allocation would be made in order to finance the extension. Determined to put an end to the incessant terror attacks on the country, the Nigerian Army has announced the commencement of massive recruitment into the service. The Director, Army Public Relations, Olajide Laleye, a Brigadier General, made this disclosure at a press briefing in Abuja. It stated that the exercise, which started with online registration for interested applicants, will last until June 21, 2014. Laleye advised that only those who would be willing to fight in the Northeast should apply for the recruitment. President Goodluck Jonathan issued the directive for more recruitment into the Army in March after the Chief of Army Staff, Kenneth Minima, had briefed him about the operations of the Nigerian Army. The Army spokesman says that some of the new recruits would be deployed primarily in the Northeast to take part in the ongoing campaign against the Boko Haram insurgents in the region. According to Laleye, the Army leadership is also carrying out the annual recruitment exercise to replace some military personnel who had died in the action. He emphasized that the Army would also commission interested candidates through the Direct Short Service Commission. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar, visited the Jos bombing scenes and declared that the federal government was fully committed to ending terrorism in the country. The IGP commended the Plateau government's effort in the fight against insurgency and promised to continue to work with the state to tackle the net.
This is a very unfortunate incident. We as security agency will do everything humanly possible to unmark those who committed this desertly act, and no government can tolerate this kind of situation anywhere in the world. Because of the concern and passion of Mr. President, he has sent me here to come and see the level of what has happened. We will convey back to the President what I have seen. Already investigation have started. All security agencies have partner and connected and collaborated to ensure that we do what we are expected to do. I will appeal to the good people of Plateau State to continue to be patient and equally collaborate with security agencies in way of giving information and intelligence so that we can be able to unmark those who this very callous act.
In the same vein, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, Sunny Sidi, has visited the site of the twin bomb blast in Jos that has claimed the lives of over 100 people, including 2 children. Sidi promised assistance to the victims of the blast and says the agency is collaborating with hospital management in Plateau to provide adequate medication to those hospitalized.
Highly condemnable. On our part, as an agency, we are going to work very closely with the Plateau State government and the hospital management here to ensure that we assist the victims of this bomb blast so that they can recover very quickly.
Nigerians have been urged to stop blaming the federal government and the Nigerian army for the incessant Boko Haram attacks. A retired Colonel Adetunji Ajayi spoke to Oluwaseyi Adegoke. Her report is presented from our studios.
The expectations of Nigerians on the government to quickly bring to an end the continued attack by the Boko Haram insurgents has resulted to blame from the general public. A retired Army Colonel Adetunji Ajayi says Nigerians should also fight to tackle the insurgency and stop being the good people that will not fight back.
This one, we want to be the good boys. We don't want to be seen to have committed war crime because we have signed so many treaties as a nation, and so we want to do the thing normally. It is, you see, what happens is that Nigeria is not prepared to do the thing abnormally. That is why we have to do this thing abnormally. But the point is, we are all playing safe. We should have played the game dirty.
He debunked the claim that Nigerian soldiers are not well equipped. Ajayi explains that the army is not initially trained to fight insurgency.
One thing that is there is that there is no country that employs its own army to be fighting terrorism. No, it's an abnormal thing we are doing here. It is abnormal. But we have found ourselves in this situation. We have to accept it like that. And, instead of people looking at things rationally, there is hysteria all over the place. There is pandemonium all over the place. And people just talk what they like without having a proper understanding of the issues at stake. Infantry soldiers, those trained, to counter terrorism in large number deployed. Where will the government get resources to meet the requirement of such large force? I don't deceive myself. I was in service. We were in Liberia. It was not possible for the government to meet the requirement.
In spite of extension of the state of emergency and the intervention by the international community to rescue the abducted schoolgirls, the insurgency had taken a new dimension with an increased number of bomb attacks recently.
The lawyer who once represented the family of former Boko Haram leader, late Mohammed Yusuf, has advocated for meaningful dialogue with the Boko Haram sect. The lawyer, Mustafa Zana, says dialogue is key to ending the insurgency.
They said they don't want to negotiate with the government, and that's period. So for now, for them to turn around and say, well, we want, if we release these people, we will release them. So this along is a sort of an olive tree that is being offered. So I want the government to avail itself with this opportunity to grab whatever and then see the avenue for intervention or that framework of engagement with this group. And this intervention first should be by engaging the group in a talk or a dialogue. So for them to have a dialogue, meaningful dialogue, they have to involve the insurgents themselves, those that are in their own captivity. So if they can get them, engage them in a talk before they should release them to go and meet the leadership of the insurgency so that at least a framework for the engagements of these two groups will be made.
In continuation of global protests to press home the demand for the release of the over 200 schoolgirls abducted from their dormitory in Chibok, hundreds of women under the auspices of Zimbabwe Young Women's Network for Peace Building marched through the streets of Harare, the Zimbabwean capital, in solidarity with Nigerians. The protesters say the action by Boko Haram is unacceptable and an abuse of the rights of the girl child. They called on the words to ensure that the girls are released on hand.
What we're saying is Boko Haram is an institutionalized face for a lot of issues that face women and girls in Africa. So what we're basically saying is that if you're involved in forced child marriages, if you're involved in any form of violence against women, you are also putting on the face of Boko Haram, and it should end now. We have a Facebook campaign. We're lobbying the Nigerian Embassy, Africa Union. We're also working with SADC and COMESA just to put pressure on the Nigerian government and also say those girls should come back. More efforts should be put so that there's a difference in terms of the efforts that are being made.
It is now significant to this occasion because all Africans, everybody in the world need to close hands together so we can stem it together, because what affects Nigeria as a country affects all African countries and indeed all over the world.
The All Progressives Congress says it holds the solution to the many problems confronting the nation and blames the ineffectiveness of the People's Democratic Party for the many challenges facing the country. This is the high point of the official flag presentation to the party's candidate, Kayode Fayemi, in the forthcoming Ekiti governorship election. Ekiti State correspondent Rashid has details in this report presented from our studios.
In a bid to defend its decision for holding a public rally less than 24 hours after the twin blast in Jos that killed over 100 people, National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressive Congress says why the party did not cancel the rally.
If it were possible, we would not be here today celebrating. However, we are constrained to be here because we can't change the INEC timetable. However, out of deep respect and to reflect the mood of the nation today, we are going to cut out a lot of the fanfare.
The party's governors blame the federal government for its inability to stem the rising insecurity in the country.
This is indeed not the nation that we have all dreamt of. But suffice it to say that we cannot just fold our hands on daily mourning and crying. Something must be done to bring about this change in the way things are done in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Can we continue to have such people in government? For 50 years, our nation has been discovered and misused. Starting from Ekiti, going to Osun, Nigeria was a no to people.
The interim national chairman of the party, Bisi Akonde, presented the flag to Governor Fayemi, who says that APC has the capacity to take Ekiti State and Nigeria to a greater height.
We believe in a society built on constituents' mutual obligations to each other, in which we are all partners in progress. A society in which the state is committed to empowering all citizens, not just a few, to live to the fullest of their potential. We believe that our call to leadership is a covenant between us and our forebears, whose sacrifices ensure the creation of Ekiti State, and also between us and future generations for whom we hold the state in trust.
National leader of the party, Bola Tinubu, warned against the militarization of Ekiti during the election. He advised voters not to be afraid.
Who pay the salaries of army? We the people, we are their employers. They are supposed to protect us, right? Don't be afraid. Go there. Demand your rights. You will not have this again until another 4 years.
We are here to ensure that the people of Ekiti will have a government that our children will be able to benefit from and be proud of.
The Ekiti State governorship election holds on June 21st. This rally seeks to show how much support Governor Fayemi enjoys from the leadership of his party.
Meanwhile, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party has accused the opposition party, All Progressives Congress, of celebrating terrorism in the country. It says the APC ought to have cancelled the governorship rally it held in Ekiti because of the just bombings where more than 100 people died. The National Publicity Secretary of the party, Olisa Meto, who briefed journalists after the weekly meeting of the members of the party's National Working Committee, says the APC remains the beneficiary of series of bombings in the country. When reminded that the PDP and President Goodluck Jonathan were in Kano a day after the first bombing at the Nyanya, Abuja, where over 75 people died, Meto says that was in the past. The APC, according to Meto, has shown that it is a party of hypocritical lots who thrive only when there is violence. He asks Nigerians to make their deductions by asking which political party is benefiting from the spate of bombings in the country. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is pushing for an all-party conference to forge a united approach to dealing with the spate of insecurity in the country. This, according to him, is because persistent terrorist violence against innocent Nigerians is unbearable and intolerable. The former Vice President said this in a press statement against the backdrop of the latest bomb attack in Jos that killed at least 100 people. He advised Nigerians not to despair and succumb to what he insists is terrorist blackmail, which is aimed at paralyzing the country with fear and ultimately turning Nigerians against one another. Atiku also called on politicians to be united in condemning terrorist violence against innocent people, adding that terrorists enjoy dividing public opinion in order to justify their atrocities. As the 2015 general elections approaches, public affairs commentators have charged Nigerians to rise above ethnic and religious sentiments and uphold the spirit of patriotism in voting leaders into power. Omotayalo in this report took Achike Chude and Sylvester Akaine up on election matters when they visited our studios.
Mixed reactions have been trailing the build-up towards the 2015 general elections in Nigeria. Some believe that with the deplorable security condition in the country, the polls may not be completely free of violence and manipulations. Recently, a delegate to the National Conference proposed an 18-month extension for the commencement of the general elections slated for February 2015, citing security concerns. Expressing his fears on the forthcoming elections, Achike Chude says past electoral events have not been quite encouraging.
It's hazy, cloudy and uncertain, because you have a situation where it is even debatable if elections are going to be held in 3 of the northern states in the northeast, where you have this insurrection, Borno, Yobe State and Adamawa State. There is that thinking that the election might not hold. And then of course there's also the politics of it. The opposition is saying that, look, the PDP does not have the intention of conducting this election. So as far as they are concerned, this insurrection or this insurgency will continue to make it impossible for them to conduct an election in those states. And of course, you know that those are the strongholds of the opposition party.
Sylvester Akaine, also a public analyst, spoke in the same vein.
All the parties are bereft of ideology. There are no ideological articulations within the party. You know, all that happens is contestation for position within the party and position within, you know, public offices. And that's basically what is going on. And I think that this deficit, you know, has had a lot of implication, you know, for Nigeria. It means that because politics is unideological, therefore not principled, and politics therefore cannot deliver what we've come to regard as the dividends of democracy.
On the way out of the current situation, the public affairs commentators say the power of liberation lies in the hands of individual Nigerian citizens.
So Nigeria is like a melting point, a center of heritage for the black people and so on. So we have to, you know, live according, you know, to the potentials that we have as a country. And so I want to believe the best, in spite of the fact that what we see on ground, you know, are frightening, and the scenario that we're looking at is terrifying. But I hope that we get out of this situation. But we're not going to get out of this situation until everybody, especially those who are the receiving end of bad governance, make up their mind that we have to make this country work, that we have to be able to challenge those people that are taking us backwards. Until we do that, until we assert ourselves as a people, I doubt whether we can move, you know, move forward in Nigeria.
Well, Nigeria has become extremely anomic. You know, we are in a state of anarchy. And times that we are now demand the patriotic effort of every Nigerian, you know, to take the country out of the brinks.
In the history of Nigeria politics, godfatherism, electoral malpractice and corruption have always characterized the system. But in the face of insecurity and national unrest, Nigerians are expected to vote for the right candidate and not relent in the fight against terrorism. Omotayo Alo, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Authorities of the Lagos State University have approved a new academic calendar for the 2013-2014 session in the midst of an indefinite strike declared by lecturers of the institution. The University Deputy Registrar, A.T. Fatogun, admitted the commencement of the lecturer strike but urged students to go about their normal academic activities. The calendar has scheduled May 19 and May 20 for students' resumption and online registration, while lecturers would hold for 11 weeks from May 19 to August 1st in a swift reaction, as the chairman says members had fully complied with the strike and that academic activities at the institution had been suspended until their demands are met. He added that students had the right to go about their normal academic activities, but lecturers would not be available to teach. You're watching CoreTV News at 7. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
I don't think the election was actually. What are the people saying?
5 local government out of the 30 local government is more than many states in the north.
The economy is booming. Where is the economy booming? Bomb blast in Abuja.
Don't you have security?
Why are we fighting?
The presidency should not just sit in Abuja or in Asokoro or wherever he lives.
The are sponsoring the Boko Haram. They know them.
Men cannot be there and be there at the same time.
The life of the citizens, community need to be protected.
It can't work out.
Bring the message of peace.
Let there be proper devolution of power from the center. The center is too powerful.
The people, only on CoreTV News.
Thank you so much for being there with us. And for more information on our news and other programs, you can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/CoreTV News. Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG, also on YouTube, www.youtube.com/CoreTV space and news. Outside Nigeria, Thailand's army chief seized power in a military coup, deposing the elected government and plunging the country into uncertainty after months of deadly political strife. General Prayut Chan-o-cha made the announcement in a televised address to the nation, saying the armed forces had to act to restore stability in the deeply divided Southeast Asian nation. He said power would be held by the committee, which he will lead. Moments before the stunning announcement, witnesses say they saw leaders of Thailand's 2 main political parties as well as its rival protest movements being taken by the military from a venue where Prayut had convened talks aimed at resolving their differences. But it was unclear if they had been formally detained. Prayut says he seized power due to the violence in Bangkok and many parts of the country that resulted in loss of innocent lives and property and was likely to escalate. The announcement came shortly after the opposing camps and other top political actors had gathered for the second straight day of...
You don't know anything at all. You are the people who see the scene, but I'm in the hall.
And that's the CoreTV News at 7. Join us again at 9:45 for the primetime news. Thank you for watching. I am Ebulomo Adekunle.